Lasermate, eject, operation, channel intro.
Hello fellow YouTubers, LightWC Stop Motioner here. Welcome to viewers new and old, and today I'm doing something different. I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I wanted to talk about if Kingdom was what I hoped or what I feared. Now what I mean by that is, when Kingdom was first announced, and I found out we were getting Beast Wars figures, I immediately started daydreaming about just getting these amazing figures, but I also had fears that they were going to be super stylized and unrecognizable. So, were they amazing and everything that I thought they should be, or were they super stylized and just ruined? Well, I'm happy to say for the most part, Kingdom is what I dreamed. For the most part, these figures stayed faithful to the original designs while modernizing it a little bit. And I'm okay with that. And this isn't really going to be so much of a ranking. I'll probably rank them all at the end of the video. But really what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through, just kind of talk about the figures in the order that I got them. And just kind of get my thoughts on them. So, let's go in and get started. Okay, so first up is Rattrap. This is the first one I got. It's a core class. And, I think some people really like this guy, some people really hate him. I like it. I think it's pretty good for its size. The wrap mode isn't perfectly accurate to his original wrap mode, but it still doesn't look too bad. Transformation, I mean, it's pretty good for a core class, and I like the robot mode. Yes, there are tolerance issues, really bad, because the shoulders cannot stay in place. I really wish they could have put a tab on this to peg in there. I really don't think that would have been too hard to do. And the knees coming undone, I'm more okay with that. But I mean, the articulation is pretty good for, like I said, something this small. You can still get him into some pretty nice poses. And he's smaller than he should be, but at least he's still the smallest. And at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. I mean, you can store the gun on his back. That's really cool. The maximal symbols on his forearms are very nice. I like the head sculpt. I do wish I don't really know what color this is, but I wish this was a little bit more shiny maybe, but it's a nitpick. Overall, I like this figure. I'd say he's like a 7 out of 10. He's pretty good. Okay, so I kind of had to empty my phone because the storage was full. Alright. So the next one I got was Optimus Primal, and I saw images of this guy, and I was very happy with it. He comes with all the weapons that I feel he should. A lot of people say he's a glorified deluxe. I don't really feel that. To me, he is just a small Voyager. I don't regret the price I paid for him. I vastly prefer this over what I've seen of the original one, because this one actually has 2 cannons and this guy's the right size. The sculpted details on him are really nice. Maybe a little bit too much sculpted fur, but I'm okay with that. Head sculpt is pretty much perfection. These guns that flip out from behind him, I mean, I do wish they could flip back instead of having to partially transform him to fold him in, but yeah, that's a nitpick. Gorilla mode, it's pretty good. I think it's the best they could do for this scale. Transformation, he transforms how I feel Optimus Primal should. He does have his, I mean, I pretend these are his Prime Jets when I flip that part up. He's got his swords that, I mean, they don't store super well, but again, at this scale, I'm not really going to harp on it too hard. Articulation is really nice. Really, biggest drawbacks would probably just be this chest. It doesn't really sit flush, and his hips are blue when they're supposed to be red. And his feet are blue when they're supposed to be gray, which I know the Netflix version fixed, but I didn't really feel like getting that. So, overall, he's a nice figure, and I'd say he's like 8.5 out of 10. He's a really nice one. Okay, next up, the next one I got was Blackarachnia. And this was one I was really looking forward to, because Blackarachnia never really had a good mainline figure, at least based on the original Beast Wars design. And when I saw images of this, I was pretty happy with it. This was one of the first figures that I saw, and it gave me hope for this line. Spider mode, again, I think is as good as it could be for a retail figure. And the transformation, I'm not a huge fan of the transformation. It's very finicky, which I shouldn't be surprised about because she's super slender. There's just lots of very thin parts on her that could break, which is unfortunate. Now, thankfully, I haven't had the issue where the tab snaps off yet, because I don't transform her a whole lot. But robot mode is where it's at. Aside from the miscolored spider legs, this figure is incredibly accurate to the original Beast Wars cartoon. Head sculpt, again, is super nice. She cleans up very well, all things considered. The gun is very nice. The articulation is not very good. Like, she doesn't really kick forward there very far, which is kind of a shame because, you know, she did that a lot. She would kick. So, it is a figure I'm a little mixed on the sense. She looks amazing, but there are some quality issues. But in terms of a display piece, I don't have a whole lot to complain about. So for that, I'd give her like an 8 out of 10. She's nice. Okay, so the next one I got was Cheetor. And this was a figure that was shown off with Blackarachnia. Well, not officially shown off, but you know, we saw images of him with Blackarachnia on like the same day. So I was a little mixed on what Kingdom was going to be, because this figure kind of embodies what I feared Kingdom would be, whereas Blackarachnia embodies more what I daydreamed it would be. And this figure is not horrible, but the paint apps, I can't forgive that. And I know they fixed with the Netflix version. I'm planning to get that at some point, but that still doesn't change the fact that they should have gotten it right the first time. There should be more gold highlights on his head, on his arms. The blue should be dark. There's no pupils on his eyes. I don't know why they really skipped out on him with the paint apps. And again, he comes with the wrong weapon. Why couldn't they have given him a gun? Or made this tail where it could turn into some sort of gun. I think they could have very easily pulled that off. I will say the articulation is nice. And thing is, I like the cheetah mode. And I like the transformation. There's like very little to complain about with both of those. But like I said before, the robot mode is like the weakest part of him. And when I display figures in the robot mode, that's not okay for the robot mode to not be as good as the alt mode and transformation. Still, he's a fun. Sorry about that. I emptied the phone and it's still saying it's out of storage, but anyway. He is a fun figure, and I don't know. For me, he's like a 6 out of 10. He's not that great. The next one I got was a figure I was excited about, but I was also really worried about. Kingdom Dinobot. Dinobot is obviously my favorite Beast Wars character. He's just one of my favorite characters ever. And I was concerned because I'm like, okay, that's a really complex design to pull off for a mainline figure. Did they manage to pull it off? For the most part, yes. Raptor mode, I think, is good. Transformation, I really like the transformation. There's some really cool techniques it pulls off. And robot mode is really good because, I mean, I wouldn't have minded if they had just used a fully faux chest. Because, again, you can't really do that. Even the Masterpiece had to cheat. But they actually incorporated the actual raptor head into the chest and then had these faux parts that fold around it. So that's just amazing. That's just an extra step they didn't have to do. And I am so happy that they did. And man, that head sculpt is so good. I have like almost nothing to complain about with it, other than maybe the gold bleeds over a little bit into the face. And that's a nitpick. Now, like I said, this guy isn't perfect. His main issues, for me, have to do with the paint apps. He has too much dark brown. He needs more light brown. And his weapons could also stand to have some better paint apps. Then really my biggest complaint with the mold is just that his arms are too skinny. But, like I said, for what they were having to pull off in just a $30 figure, I think they did a pretty darn good job. So, in all honesty, I'd say this figure is a good 9 out of 10. Alright, so the next one I got was Beast Megatron. When this figure was first showed off, I was super happy with how he looked. But then reviews started coming up, people were talking about how he felt like he could break, so I kind of got concerned. Then he came in and I got him, and I did like him. But he's growing on me to the point where it's like I really like him now. His T-Rex mode is very nice. He's got some panel lining, but I mean, what can you do at a certain point? Transformation, I'm a little mixed on. Because it's pretty cool transformation, but why do they have to make this part just so nerve-wracking? They could have made it where this could split and it was a lot looser. You didn't have to apply as much force to it. That's the problem with it. There's just too many parts where you have to apply force to it. And I don't like doing that. But then you get to the robot mode, and I mean, aside from having these kind of annoying bright colors that I feel shouldn't be there, he's pretty nice. Head sculpt really captures the look of the character. Maybe he could stand to have some pupils, but again, that's a nitpick. He's got a nice expression, nice colors, good details. The sculpted in details are super nice. Did I mention this already? The articulation is really good. You can get some really good poses out of him. Still got the opening T-Rex head on his, for his hands, I guess. So, overall, this one is really nice. And I'd say he's about an 8 out of 10. Alright, the next one I got was Airazor. And I think some people were skipping this figure because, let's be honest, Airazor was not really the most prominent character in Beast Wars. She probably had some of the least development. Which is a shame, because I really like the design, and I've said many times, I really like birds. They're like probably my favorite type of creature, aside from mythological creatures, in that case it'd be dragons. But, you know, real creatures that, you know, exist. I like birds. And I was looking forward to how this figure was going to turn out, because, I mean, that was another pretty tough design to pull off, and I think they did a pretty good job. I really like the bird mode. Yes, you can see parts of the robot, but, I mean, that's an issue with pretty much all of these figures, to a certain extent. So, they did a really good job with the bird mode, in my opinion. And I like the transformation. I mean, not really anything super noteworthy about it to me anyway, but I still really like it. And robot mode is super good. I do wish the brown was darker, but that's about it. I love how the wings compact and they're super articulated. And that's just this figure in general. She has a lot of really good posability. Head sculpt, it's not perfect, but it still does what I feel it needs to do. Nice green eyes, and again, the sculpted in details are super nice. And she can be a little top heavy sometimes, but when you get her standing just right, she should be okay. So this one's really nice, and in all honesty, I'd say it's like, you know, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I love this figure. Okay. So we had all these really good figures before, aside from Cheetor. Cheetor was not as good, but all the others were really great. So I was thinking, man, they're really on a they really got a good record going. These figures are really good. I can't wait to see what they do next. Then this happens. I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse at this point. But, you know, I'm talking about all these figures, so I gotta talk about this. This does not embody the character well. This Rhinox. Now, I'm a little less mad because I have the Thrilling 31 now, which is still stylized, but it embodies the character much better. And a lot of people were saying, like, well, this is based on the Netflix series, which, again, he didn't look like this at all in the Netflix series, and people did not seem to understand why I was mad about that. Well, it's obvious, because these all seem to stay faithful to the original Beast Wars design, and this guy didn't at all. Rhino mode is tolerable. It's got the hideous green showing, and it's not very well articulated, which I don't really mind that so much. Transformation, already talked about it. It's agony. It's just possibly the worst thing Hasbro ever could have done. And robot mode, while some of the articulation is really good, I won't argue with that. In terms of articulation, he definitely beats the Thrilling 30. And as a figure to play with in robot mode and pose and such, he also does beat the Thrilling 30 because he can stand up no problem. Like, you can get him in any cool pose you want and you're not going to have too many issues. But it's just not right. The head sculpt, again, I don't know what went wrong with it. It seems like this is like the first figure they designed, and then after that they were like, no, let's make him faithful to the original Beast Wars cartoon. That's seriously what it feels like. So, I'm not going to go into this anymore. If you want to just really see me hate on this figure more, I got other videos about it. The Kingdom Wave 3 ranking, worst Transformers of 2021, this guy's review. Well, don't watch the review for this guy, because I wasn't as harsh on this figure as I needed to be. Either way, this guy is like 3 out of 10. He's horrible. Alright, so now we're kind of branching outside of mainline figures, and we're going to take a look at an exclusive. This is the Generation Selects Transmutate. And I wasn't fully sure if I wanted to include this figure in this video initially, but it's based on a Kingdom mold, so as such, I figured I might as well cover it. So a character who appeared in one episode. I wasn't fully sure if I was going to pick this up because the 10th anniversary Build-A-Figure looked a little bit better. But, you know, that is expensive if you want to get that nowadays. And I found this and thought, okay, I'll go and get it. And once you fan mode it, it's actually not too bad. It's really weird looking, but I mean, come on, Transmutate was a really weird looking character. Head sculpt is pretty good. You can open it, which is really unsettling, but then again, you know, that's just kind of how it was in that episode. Now, you can transform her, which I don't really, in fact, I haven't really done since I did a review for her, because she didn't transform in the series. But, I mean, you know, the T-Rex mode is still good. The bony T-Rex mode, and transformation, I mean, it's just like a Lego set. Just take it apart and rebuild it into something else, which isn't bad. It's nice that you can, take this apart. It's sad if you want to recreate what happened in that episode, but still, you have that option. So overall, I think this is a good figure. I'd give it about 7 out of 10. It's not amazing, but I like it. Okay, so the next one I got was Scorponok. And I actually don't really mind this figure as much as a lot of people do, but I get it. The issues that people have with it, I have those same issues. Scorpion mode would be good, but problem is just the way the legs store. They were such an afterthought. The leg folds up underneath, one leg folds up underneath, so his scorpion legs can't actually touch the ground, and the other one folds up into the tail and prevents the articulation. So I just pop the legs off when I turn them into scorpion mode. Transformation, I don't like the transformation. It's like you just partially open up the chest and you partially fold the head in. It's not super satisfying. Now, I do like this robot mode. I think it's pretty good. Yes, there's some issues, like the legs are too short. This guy should be bigger. Now, there is an upgrade kit where you can make the legs longer, which I might have to get that someday. But to me, this guy still gets the overall point across. You can open his claws, and he has missiles. You can open up this claw, and you got his bee. I know there's the transform element one, but I don't know how well that one would fit in size-wise. I haven't actually watched any reviews for it. A lot of people are saying how amazing it is, though. And then there is the reissue one that's out now. I don't really know how that one fits in size-wise either. But one of the reasons I was excited about this guy is because, again, Scorponok is definitely not the best Beast Wars character. And, getting the original is super expensive. Again, you got the reissue out now, but... So, I mean, this figure's got problems. But for what it's worth, he's about a 7 out of 10. I think he's pretty good. Okay, so next up is another figure I wasn't fully sure if I wanted to include because it was an exclusive, but it is an extensive retool of a Kingdom mold, so as such, I thought I might as well include it. Ravage. This thing is only available on Hasbro Pulse, unless you buy it on eBay or something like that. Now, one problem with this figure, he is very overpriced. They're asking $50 for him. And yeah, what you get, this figure and the stuff he comes with, it's not worth that. That isn't to say this thing is bad. I do still like it. He does have his alt mode that, again, I don't really transform this guy because he didn't transform in Beast Wars. And the transformation, I like the transformation. I think it's pretty fun. And the robot mode, that's what I keep him in. And thankfully, that's the best thing about this guy. The only thing about him that isn't fully accurate would be his knees down. But otherwise, I think that's about it. I think head sculpt is pretty good. He does have an opening mouth. His articulation is nice. Yeah, the legs do hang off his back, but it could be worse. His guns are nice. The details on him are good. Got a Predacon symbol there. So, for what it's worth, I'd say this guy is about... I'd give him an 8. He's nice. Okay, so next up is a figure I also wasn't fully sure if I wanted to get when he was first revealed, because I thought the Thrilling 31 looked better. At first, I thought that. Kingdom Waspinator. And, I don't have the Thrilling 31, so I can't fully judge it, but I've seen people who compare them, and they seem a little mixed on which one they like better, because they both have pluses and minuses. it's not like Rhinox, where this figure just was like, no, this doesn't work. And I went and tracked down the previous one, because I think this one is good. The Wasp mode is nice. He actually has articulated mandibles, which I don't think any Waspinator figure has had. He doesn't have the wing flap gimmick, but I'm okay with that. Now, some people complain that the wings are purple, but that's how they're supposed to look. That is the color they were in the original Beast Wars series. Transformation, it's not too bad. I think it's pretty good. And I do like this robot mode. Yes, he does have the leg kibble hanging off of his arms. I do wish they made these where they could be articulated just a little bit more and just be more out of the way, but it's not too bad. This gun is pathetic. That is inexcusable. They could have made it look a little bit more like a gun. But other than that, I think the articulation is pretty good. I like the head sculpt. It's got some good light piping. I do wish this guy was a little bit bigger, but he's not too shabby. I'd say he's about, I'd give him a 7.5 out of 10. I like him. Alright, next up is Kingdom Tigatron. And oh boy, is this figure good. I didn't think he would be this good, because I call it a retool. I know some people may not think of it that way, but for me, it has shared engineering. So that means at least there's retooled parts of it that are the same that are similar to Cheetor. And this guy takes pretty much all the issues I have with Cheetor and gets rid of them. I like Tiger Mode, which, again, the alt mode was something I liked about Cheetor. Transformation, I do like it, aside from this part right here. There's like no clearance really, you just kind of got to force it, which I really don't like that. But other than that, transformation has a few extra added steps that admittedly aren't super necessary, but I don't mind it. And this robot mode is super good. Yeah, there isn't anywhere to store the whip, but like I said, I'm just so happy that he comes with his gun that I don't even really care. Gets the right shape. Now, I'm not a fan of how they made them all yellowed. I don't know why they did that. But again, that's like a nitpick. Articulation is really good. He embodies the character well. The paint apps are good. Overall, this one is just really awesome. And I'm glad these are starting to pop up at retail and people are able to find them, because every Beast Wars fan needs this. So overall, this figure is like a 10 out of 10. Alright, next up is the most recent addition to my collection, Beast Wars collection. I just got this one like 2 days ago. Golden Disc Collection Terrorsaur. And I wasn't fully sure if I wanted to wait for this guy to arrive and then do this video, because I'm like, I mean, he's not really a mainline figure. But again, he's a retool of Airazor, which is a Kingdom mold. So, as such, this is a Kingdom figure. And this is under the Kingdom banner. So, I had to wait for this. So, this figure, I think, is good. The Pteranodactyl mode is not super great. If you change the way the legs, his feet are in relation to the rest of his body, it's a little bit better when you like stand him straight up. Transformation, it's very similar to Airazor's. It's almost identical, with just a few different ways with like the head swaps. But I like the transformation. It's something I like about Airazor, so it's something I like about this. In robot mode, I think it's good. As I've said many times, Terrorsaur is like one of my least favorite characters from Beast Wars. So the fact that it's just a retool doesn't really bug me too much. I know there's a lot of people who, do really like Terrorsaur, and they're probably bummed that he's just a retool and isn't fully accurate. There's definitely inaccuracies about him, but again, for me, it gets the point across as being a Terrorsaur. So for that, he's about, I'd say, 7 out of 10. Okay, so now I'm going to go through all these and try and rank them from worst to best. I'll see what I can manage. So, you all know, worst is obviously Rhinox. I don't like this figure. Second worst is Cheetor. This figure just does not do it for me. The mold could be really good. Like I said, I might get the Netflix version and get a gun for him, get the labels for him. And that'll probably make me like this guy a lot better, and he'd probably be higher on the list. But for now, he's like my second least favorite. Third least favorite. That's a tough one. It's between these three right here. And next is probably Transmutate. I think this one is good, but not perfect. Then next is probably Scorponok. And after that, it's Ravage. He would be higher for being as accurate as he is in many ways, but I don't really transform him much, so the fact that he has an alternate mode, oddly enough, drags him down a little bit. I almost wish they just made him a red figure. I know that sounds crazy, but I do kind of wish that. Same for Transmutate. Then next, probably Terrorsaur. Again, he's not perfectly accurate, but he's just good enough for me. Then next is probably Waspinator. Again, he's not perfect. There's some things that were completely avoidable, but he's still pretty decent. Next, I would say is probably Rattrap. He's a decent little core class, but he's not my favorite. After that is probably Blackarachnia, because I love the robot mode. Like, the robot mode is borderline perfect. But that's honestly the best thing about her. Which, again, is what I'd prefer, but that doesn't change the fact that the spider mode I'm iffy on, and I'm not a huge fan of the transformation just because of how finicky it is. Next up, okay, so top fives are gonna stay up here. So number 5 is probably Beast Megatron. I mean, this guy is just awesome. Yes, there's some color inaccuracies, and it is a little concerning while, I do get a little concerned while I'm transforming him, but he's still pretty awesome. Then after that is probably Optimus Primal. Because again, this is a figure that took design liberties and did it right. I really like this guy. Next is probably Dinobot. A great update to my favorite Beast Wars character. So that's really awesome. Now, number 1. I know I might have said Tigatron before, but it is tough. Because, I mean, you know, these two figures are both like 10 out of 10s for me. You know what? I think I might have to put Airazor above Tigatron just because she is very fun to mess with. And she does do a better job with, like, storing her accessories. So, yeah, a deluxe based on, like, one of the least developed characters from Beast Wars, in my opinion, is the best Beast Wars update in the Kingdom line. Tigatron is a very close second. Like, this is Tigatron and Airazor, just how close they are. But yeah, most of the figures they made were really good. which is why it frustrated me when some of them were just such duds. Because I had my standards high. But for what it's worth, for the most part, we got some amazing figures. Kingdom was overall more like what I daydreamed about, which I'm very happy to say, because I was really worried it was going to be what I feared. So, that covers all the Beast Wars updates in the Kingdom line, based on characters from Beast Wars. I obviously skipped repaints like Shadow Panther, Nemesis Primal, Grimlock, Skywarp, T-Rex, you know, those kind of figures. I did skip those, just ones that were from the Beast Wars cartoon. I got it, and I got all of them, and like I said, most of them are really good. And I'm happy about that. Like I said, that just sums up my overall thoughts on all the figures and, you know, how I'd rank them. Which, you know, my opinion could change in the coming weeks. My opinion changes a lot. But for now, that's where I stand with it. So, if you like this video, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and God bless.